She was called the goddess of wealth, a woman who promised fortune to thousands, then vanished with billions in Bitcoin. In 2017, a Chinese businesswoman disappeared with a fortune so large it could change the price of Bitcoin. When police finally found her years later hiding in London, she was sitting on a digital treasure chest worth over $6 billion. Her name is Zhimin Qian, once known in China as the goddess of wealth. To the world, she's now something else, the woman behind one of the largest crypto frauds in history. This is the unbelievable story of how one person tricked more than 128,000 people, vanished across borders, laundered billions through Bitcoin, and how it all came crashing down. In the mid-2000s, China's economy was booming, and ordinary citizens wanted a piece of the dream. Real estate was expensive, stocks were volatile, but there was a new frontier everyone was talking about: digital finance. That was when a confident, charismatic woman named Zhimin Qian appeared. She was polished, educated, and spoke the language of the new economy. Her company, Tianjin Lantian Girui Electronic Technology, claimed to offer cutting-edge investment opportunities, a mix of high-tech ventures and early cryptocurrency mining. Qian told investors that China was about to enter a digital gold rush, and she had the inside access to lead them there. She promised steady, high returns and low risk. She branded herself as the face of a modern, fearless generation, a female billionaire in the making. Her marketing was flawless: luxury events, glossy brochures, and videos of her arriving in private jets. People called her the goddess of wealth. And when early investors started seeing returns, at least on paper, the crowds poured in. Between 2014 and 2017, Qian's company raised money from an estimated 128,000 investors across China. Teachers, retirees, small business owners, all convinced they were getting in early on a revolutionary opportunity. But behind the scenes, there was no revolution. The investments weren't going into new projects. They were being recycled to pay earlier investors. A classic Ponzi scheme. Each new wave of deposits propped up the illusion that the company was thriving. It worked beautifully until the flow of new money started to slow, and that's when Qian did something few fraudsters managed to pull off. Instead of waiting for collapse, she ran. In 2017, as Chinese authorities began investigating, Qian quietly transferred vast sums of money out of China. The money moved through a web of accounts and shell companies before landing in cryptocurrency. Reports suggest she converted roughly £4.6 billion, about 61,000 Bitcoin. Then she vanished. For years, no one knew where she went. Interpol issued notices. Chinese state media described her as a fugitive mastermind. Victims were left with nothing but screenshots and vanished websites. And somewhere on a hard drive half a world away, billions in stolen Bitcoin sat untouched. In 2020, half a decade after her disappearance, a woman calling herself Yadi Zhang arrived in London. She was quiet, polite, and very rich. Under her new identity, Qian rented luxury apartments and hired brokers to help her buy property in the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. To the outside world, she looked like any other foreign investor, another crypto millionaire moving into the London elite. But there was one problem. Her Bitcoin wallet was too big to hide. When she tried to move a portion of her crypto through UK banks, the pattern caught attention. Compliance officers noticed enormous transfers connected to opaque companies with Chinese links. The amounts didn't just look suspicious, they looked impossible. In 2021, the Metropolitan Police quietly launched an investigation. They traced wallet addresses, followed exchanges, and began piecing together a money laundering trail that stretched across continents. The evidence led straight to the woman calling herself Yadi Zhang. A routine search turned into a full-scale raid. Inside her London apartment, police found encrypted devices, false passports, and access to wallets holding 61,000 Bitcoin, worth roughly £5.5 billion at current value. It was one of the largest crypto seizures in history. At that moment, the truth was clear. Yadi Zhang and Zhimin Qian were the same person. What stunned investigators wasn't just the money, it was how carefully planned the scheme was. Qian hadn't simply stolen cash, she'd built an entire financial labyrinth. Money moved through shell corporations in Hong Kong, Singapore, and the British Virgin Islands. Every conversion from fiat to crypto was broken into hundreds of smaller transactions, each one harder to trace. She used mixing services, off-chain transfers, and even peer-to-peer deals to obscure her footprints. By the time the funds landed in Bitcoin, the connection to the original investors was nearly invisible. For years, that strategy worked. But blockchain forensics caught up. Once police linked her known wallets to the massive transfers, the web unraveled. In 2023, after lengthy extradition and identification processes, Qian was formally charged in the UK with money laundering and possession of criminal property. Her associate Senghok Ling, a Malaysian national who helped her move the funds, faced similar charges. During the trial, prosecutors described a sophisticated cross-border fraud that began in China and ended in London's luxury high-rises. They presented the seized Bitcoin wallets as proof of how the world's largest digital fortune was built on lies. Qian pleaded guilty to laundering billions in stolen funds, but denied orchestrating the original investment fraud in China. Nevertheless, the court held her responsible for managing the proceeds of one of the biggest Ponzi schemes ever uncovered. In November 2025, she was sentenced to 11 years and 8 months in prison. Her accomplice received nearly 5 years. The Metropolitan Police described the case as a milestone, the largest asset seizure in the department's history. While headlines focused on billions in Bitcoin, the victims' stories were less glamorous. Many had invested their life savings. Some had borrowed money from relatives or sold property to join what they thought was a secure investment. When Qian vanished, so did their futures. For years, they searched for updates. Online forums filled with desperate posts and theories about where the money went. For them, the arrest in London brought closure, but not recovery. Chinese authorities estimate that over 128,000 people were defrauded. How much of the seized crypto will ever reach them remains uncertain. Legal ownership of the Bitcoin is now tangled between Chinese victims, UK courts, and international regulators. Zhimin Qian's fraud worked because it tapped into a very human instinct: greed mixed with fear of missing out. In a rapidly modernizing China, many people felt left behind by new wealth. Qian offered a shortcut, a chance to participate in the digital future. She dressed it up with technical language, crypto jargon, and social proof from early investors. Every Ponzi scheme relies on the illusion of success, but Qian went further. She built an identity people wanted to believe in, a successful woman breaking barriers in finance. That image made her untouchable until it didn't. The Zhimin Qian case exposes the double-edged nature of cryptocurrency. It can move wealth instantly, anonymously, and globally, making it both a tool for innovation and a weapon for crime, but it also proves that even crypto leaves footprints. Blockchain forensics, once seen as impossible, has become one of law enforcement's most powerful weapons. No matter how complex the scheme, every transaction leaves a trail. For investors, the lesson is simpler if it sounds too good to be true. It is high guaranteed returns, secret strategies, or celebrity-style founders are all warning signs. And as Qian's case shows, even when authorities recovered the money, the victims rarely see it again. Zhimin Qian built an empire on promises of easy wealth. She convinced a generation to trust her vision of the future and then turned that trust into billions in stolen Bitcoin. She believed she could hide behind technology, that the blockchain would protect her secrets. Instead, it preserved every transaction, every trace of her empire. Today, the woman once worshipped as China's goddess of wealth sits behind bars, while the coins she hoarded remain frozen on the same blockchain she once used to disappear. In the end, the same technology that made her rich also exposed her. And that might be the ultimate irony of the modern age. The truth is always written on the ledger.